I said that you don't get to abandon your child then decide that you want him 5 years later and that he considers me his mother. She said that he will start thinking of her as mom if he has time to bond. I said that if she continues trying to steal him from me, then I will stop letting her meet him. My husband says I'm being paranoid and there's no way she can get him back now. Am I the asshole? Edit, we are his legal parents. She is related to us, she's my husband's second cousin. AITA for telling my mom to stop treating my brother like a kid. I, 21F, recently had a big fight with my mom. My brother, 17 meters, has always been my mother's favorite, and no, I am not just saying this, but she tells this to everyone around her. So since we were kids he has been coddled his whole life. She checks his computer, his phone, barges into his room without knocking, even tries to hand feed him at this age. Anyway, he is a teen and now absolutely hates that he doesn't get his privacy, independency. Anyway, it's COVID and he had this date with a girl. In my place, COVID is handled good so we can go to cafes if we follow the rules. My brother even told my mom about the date, and guess who followed him all the way? My mom. She sat in a booth nearby pretending to hide, and then my brother said he went to the bathroom and his date followed him. He said that he did it because he saw our mom there, and just wanted to kiss his date away from our mom's prying eyes. Anyway, they were there in for like 5 minutes when my mom barged in, physically separated them and yelled at the girl for ruining her baby and that she was a bad influence. It got worse up to the point the girl called our family bunch of creeps and left. My mom didn't stop. She was like, "Baby, did she hurt you? Are you okay?" And my brother, who never cried in public as a teen, called me crying to come pick him up because he was that embarrassed. I went and my mom wouldn't let him come with me, because she said only she can calm her baby. That's when I told her he is calm and just fucking mad at her because she is treating her like he is 10 and that's embarrassing him. All this happened in the parking outside the cafe where my mom dragged my brother and his date out, and after I took my brother to my apartment, we talked and he doesn't even want to go back home because of many other incidents too. My mom is calling and texting saying I had no right to act like an asshole and embarrass her in public, and even my dad says my way of handling the situation is completely wrong. I still refuse to apologize, so does that make me an asshole? AITA for telling my daughter to stop crying because this wasn't about her? I have a 28-year-old daughter and a 33-year-old son. I remarried 1 year ago to my wife, 30F, and I had told her while dating that I was in my 60s and wasn't aiming to have more kids. For the past few weeks my wife had started acting strange and said she felt sick and tired. The other day my wife and I were visiting my daughter and her boyfriend, who just got an apartment together. My wife was on edge the whole time. Finally she blurted out that she found out that she's pregnant. She looked apprehensive, so I asked why she was treating this like bad news. She said she wasn't sure how I'd feel about the news. So I told her that it was unexpected, but that especially recently I've come to really value children in a way that I couldn't when I was younger and was either away from home altogether or working 13-hour days, 6 days a week. I told her that my business is very much hands-off now, and this time around I have time and resources and am so excited to devote that to our child. And that I would do everything to make our child the happiest child with the happiest family. My daughter was in the adjacent room, but I didn't notice that she had walked in. She started sniffing, and when I asked what's wrong she started full-on crying. She curtly said congratulations and started walking out. I caught up with her in the hallway and she spun around and said, "Great to see that you finally calmed down, Dad, if only it happened 25 years ago and not just because of age." I told her that I was only trying to make my wife feel better and she didn't have to cry and yell because this wasn't about her. This was about letting an anxious woman I loved know that she and her child would want for nothing and worry about nothing. She looked furious and said, "Yeah, this is about a kid who is going to get a chill, indulgent dad and a happy mom because he got him the second time around." After that my wife and I left because we knew we weren't welcome at the moment. AITA for defending what I said and for telling my daughter that this really has nothing to do with her and everything to do with a baby I intend to be a great dad to. AITA for telling my husband's sister-in-law that I don't trust her with my kids. My husband's older brother is married to Louise. She's a mom of 3 ages 12, 10 and 9. And my husband and I have known her for about 3 years now, they've been married for 2. My husband and I have 2 boys. Our youngest has SPD and has many food and smell issues that have come up over the years. He's very sensitive to taste, smell and texture, and his diet is limited and he cannot be easily exposed to strong smells without either gagging or puking. We have been working on feeding therapy with him since he was 4, but it has not been the success most people expected. He still doesn't eat or try most things, but his diet is not as limited as it once was. Louise is not very understanding or good with adapting. Ever since we met her, she has made comments about how we could get him to eat more and has talked about her own picky eater. No matter how clear we were about his diagnosis, she keeps acting like that. Even suggesting to get him to eat better, we should just let him not eat until he gives in. It concerns us. So we have never let her have the boys alone. It has been a source of conflict between my husband and his brother on top of this, because she has felt pushed out, like she wasn't accepted into the family or trusted as an aunt. But the truth is, we don't trust her. She does not recognize how cruel it is to essentially starve him into compliance and refuses to acknowledge this is what would happen. He would not give in. He would refuse to eat until he got sick. But she does not believe any child could physically do that. To me, that is scary and dangerous as a parent of a child who could very easily do something like that. Anyway, she showed up to speak to me mom to mom recently and asked me why we didn't let her have time with the boys and take them places like a real aunt. She told me she really wanted to get to know them and had no idea why we would have an issue with it by always saying no. And how she was starting to feel like we were sending the message that we don't like her. I brought up to her everything she has said in the past and the fact she doesn't remembers those conversations, supposedly, and I told her we did not trust her with our kids given all this. She obviously didn't like hearing this, and now she and my husband's brother are saying I'm a bitch and should never have said such a horrible thing to her. My husband thinks it's crazy, but I wonder if I was too harsh.